Hi, and welcome back to the Simply Fitness Podcast. I'm John Stein. On this episode of the podcast, I got a chance to chat with Adam Berry. We talk about a lot of things, diving deep into behavior change, getting over gym fears, and the scarcity mindset. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
Yeah, exactly. So awesome. Let's go ahead and get started. So welcome, Adam. Welcome to the Simply Fitness Podcast. How's your day going so far?
It's been okay, actually. Not too bad at all. Just in the gym, getting out some content and working with some clients and stuff. You know, the usual. It's been hot. I'm still getting used to the temperatures here in Australia, but it's been fun. It's been good. Yeah. No, I feel like I'm excited for the day.
Yeah, awesome. Glad to hear that. I know you just had a big move and everything. I'm actually in the complete opposite right now. I'm having to deal with an ample amount of snow,
Right.
which god awful. Not having to deal with snow for 2 years, I realized that I really just don't like it. So yeah, I understand that completely. Yeah, I'm just finishing up my day here, ending my day with, on a high note here, talking with
Good.
you, chatting with you a little bit. So super pumped. Glad we finally got you on, figured out scheduling. That time zone does not play well for us, but we managed. Not my first time talking with an Australian here, so we're gonna get after it here. So why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself? Get a little background about you and your story.
Thanks, man. Well, yeah. Your point on snow, by the way, like snow's great for about a day, and then after that, it's just what is this thing? And it's gorgeous for about an hour, and then it's like, no, just all right, I'm over it now. I'm done.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
I 100% agree. In North Carolina where I used to live, it would snow every once in a while, but it would snow and then it'd go away. It was perfect. You're like, oh man, this is beautiful, great. You take a picture and then it's gone. I'm like, that's perfect.
Yeah, whereas you're in New York now, aren't you? Like New Jersey.
I'm right outside New York City.
Because it's colder, it hangs around a lot longer, right? Yeah. And then it goes all black and mushy and horrible and disgusting.
Oh yeah, nice brown, black snow. Yeah. It's great.
Yeah, it's like that in the UK every time it snows.
Yeah.
It's annoying. But I don't have to deal with that, as you alluded. So a bit about myself. Well, I suppose right now, in the present moment, I've literally just moved to Australia, literally meaning like within the last month. And I'm here on the Gold Coast, enjoying life in a very different way to what I'm used to, which is both exciting and interesting. But my name, like people who are on this podcast or people who have listened to you coming onto my podcast may know me as a guy called the Gym Starter. And that's who I am. That's what I do. And I try and help people who severely lack confidence, who severely need help understanding and figuring out all the things in the gym and getting over the barriers that the gym can propose to them, i.e. It can be quite an arresting environment for a lot of people, lots of mirrors, lots of, looking at yourself, that like weighing yourself and all these things are quite arresting for people. So I try and give them a safe space to which to be able to still achieve their goals, but be able to navigate through those things in a way that will hopefully not trigger them in any way, shape or form. I like to build confidence in people. I like to get people moving through, get people ticking over, and basically find people who just want to work hard and work on themselves and make a change. I'm a classically trained actor, for those wondering. I trained at university as an actor at drama school.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, thanks, man. I was in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets for something that people might know of. And so my life's kind of gone from there. Like when I was at drama school, I absolutely adored working on myself in that manner and being very physical and kind of both, breaking myself down physically and mentally, which is kind of what you have to do in drama school. And then developing that forward into working with others. And then that's kind of developed into my personal training career, which has led me to becoming on your podcast today.
Yeah, awesome, man. That's a great story. I did not know about the whole drama school thing. That's pretty awesome. That's I've definitely met like a few fitness professionals and just people like in my life, and it's an interesting trait. And it's actually I found some of the most powerful people that I've met, like whether they like most of them don't have career in acting or anything like that, but having gone through that, it just helps propel them for
Yeah.
success in a lot of ways. It treats a lot of different traits, which is so interesting. I think a lot of people mock it for a lot of, weird reasons I don't fully understand, but yeah, I think it's super cool.
It was a beautiful place. I adored it immensely. I miss it greatly. It was very intense. I used to do 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, and every minute of every day I was being analyzed. We never had to submit a dissertation. We never had to submit like any written essays or anything like that to get the degree. It was all based on our practical work. And when you're under that much scrutiny in what is a relatively competitive environment, like just to give you some context, to get into drama school, there was 3,000 applicants to my particular drama school, and there was only 28 spaces in my year group. So, you're up against it as it is. And then those who do get through are obviously very talented, obviously great people, and they know their stuff, and they're willing to submit themselves. But it was a real case of submitting yourself to a process. It was a real case of giving yourself over to something bigger than yourself and understanding how you fit into that perspective. And the lessons I learned from drama school are lessons that I take with me every single day. Every single day out on the gym floor, every single day working with friends online, and every single day when I'm working as an actor as well. It really does set you up. Like it never ceases to amaze me the metaphors that exist between art and fitness, and it's a very much unspoken about aspect of life. But in the same way, we will talk about how fitness can develop the mind, it can grow the soul, it can very much give you a purpose, and it can very much teach you much about yourself.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You could easily replace the word fitness with art. Whether that be theatre, whether that be poetry, whether that be songwriting, whether that be play literature, whether that be novels, novellas, writing, any kind of art, music. The same. I very much believe fitness is a place for you to be creative. And I recently wrote a blog on this, actually. So I got approached by Nottingham Trent University in the UK, and they asked me to write a blog about how to keep sort of fit and healthy as a student during lockdown and stuff like this. And I said, and one of the questions they asked me is, how does exercise help your mental health? And I was like, well, I think production in general helps your mental health. I think being a productive human helps your mental health. And I think production comes from creativity. That's why we do podcasts. That's why we do, writing a workout is a creative outlet. Being in the gym and manifesting the workout plan that we've written is a creative outlet. It's a physically creative way to exist. And I think that's really we can talk about the endorphins, we can talk about the science, we can talk about how, the brain lights up with the joys of exercise and the amount of oxygen and all the rest of it. But really and truly, if you're not very interested in, if you're not very interested in really that kind of science of it, if you just look at it from the perspective of creativity helps us grow in every way, shape, and form. Creativity has statistically always helped economies grow. Creativity or artistry has always, you're feeling down, what do? You go to your favorite band, you watch a gig, you listen to lyrics that inspire you, that get you moving forward. And I think the gym floor and the workouts, I'm pointing over there because I'm behind a gym, basically, the doors there. It has the same space, the same place in my life, definitely. And I think it can in other people's lives. And I don't think enough people probably think about it in that manner. And that's both because it's not spoken about much in that manner, but also because people probably just don't see it in that manner. We look at fitness as the epitome of human movement, as opposed to the epitome of emotional movement. And I think it can definitely aid both.
Yeah, for sure. I think that there is a lot of creativity, even just within fitness itself. You're moving your body, learning about your body, and, through movement and through that creativity with that. And as well as, just through other art forms. I think it is definitely a maybe not as thought about thing as, as a mental health aspect too. That just helps ease your mind when you can be able to be creative in some form of manner. I've definitely seen a lot of, you just read about all these successful people. They still do some type of art form in some form whether that's painting or music or, whatever type of form there, there's millions of types of art and way to be creative and, creative. So yeah, I think it's definitely underutilized. I think that we don't think about like what we do as creative, but it is, get your mind going. Like, how can you create an entertaining podcast? How can you ask people, questions that, are intriguing and can, maybe make them think a little bit more into what they're doing or what they're not doing, and really, help the people listening, and even on Instagram, everything like that. That's all creative. How can we help people that way? So yeah, I love that. And definitely.
And it comes to no surprise to me that, those who are, those creators, like they're called creators on Instagram and stuff like that for a reason, because it is a creative endeavor. And they all experience the same things I experienced when I was acting: burnout, lack of inspiration. Sometimes you just have to suck it up and grind it out and get that post done. And these things, and I know it sounds a bit terse, like we're not creating high art. But I mean, I was about to say no one's a snob here, right? I really am.
Yeah.
But but we're not, it's just a post. Yeah, it will last 30 seconds on Instagram in someone's life and people will move on. There's a lot more to it. Like, it doesn't have the longevity of creating a novel. But then also, it doesn't mean that it's not a worthwhile place for somebody to be engaged in that creative side of themselves, and everyone's different. I personally don't engage with numbers. I personally don't engage with being analytical, and I don't personally engage with that side of life because it doesn't interest me. There's just no point, right? If it doesn't interest me, honestly, I'll prefer to pay someone to do that for me than do it myself. But what I would engage in, what I would take control of, is the not the analytical side, is the creative side, is the artistry, is the, like you say, trying to get people on a podcast and asking intriguing questions and making something entertaining. And the problem you then end up with that is analytically and like numerically, it's factual. And then where I live in the creative space, it's more subjective. And so it can sometimes feel like more of a slight on yourself and your own personal beliefs. But then that's another thing drama school taught me very well, was, like kind of sticks and stones mentality and philosophy. And that, if you are willing to engage creatively, then not everyone's going to enjoy what it is you do. And that's just life. You can't worry about that. You just have to know that there are people out there who do value you. And that's just the way the world goes around.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more with that last point. There's always going to be, no matter what you do, people that are going to dislike you, and there's people that are going to like you no matter what. And you just got to surround yourself with those people, that are just going to unconditionally like you for who you are and what you bring to the table, because I think everyone brings something to the table, and it might not be what some people want, but it's going to be what other people want. And you just got to find that group of people, that do that for you. So and also like, even if someone, like, I used to always say when I was at drama school, like, I don't care whether people like what I do or not, like, because either way they're being entertained. So if they sit there and want to throw tomatoes at me, like, let's say we was back in olden times, if they wanted to throw tomatoes at me, they're going to really enjoy throwing tomatoes at me. I might not enjoy that experience too much, but they're still being entertained by what I'm doing, right? So that's fair enough. And that's really and truly, as an entertainer, which I suppose as an actor you are primarily, although I prefer to think of myself as a storyteller. So if they don't enjoy the story, then that's on them, but at least they're actively not enjoying the story, if that makes sense. And then you'll get those who are enjoying it. So, a big part of what I do in both acting and in fitness is try and just create something people will enjoy engaging or enjoy not engaging with. And then that's up to them. And it's not for me to dictate that to them. That's up to them. And therefore, they're always getting something out of whatever it is I have to do, say, believe, and put out there. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I 100% agree. So kind of going off like what we were talking about at the beginning, what you brought up about, like, you just made this giant change in your life. Like, I think most people would just be like flabbergasted at, like, I would never move, halfway across the world to another country, and, Australia, England, you know, probably similar, but still very different in probably a lot of ways. So like, obviously with any change, there's always going to be risk, you know, of, you know, whether that change is going to be good or not. So like, how did you kind of come to like that decision? Like what kind of like was your thought process? I know there's probably a lot of personal things, but like in an overarching way, like what made you decide to like make a giant change like that?
Well, a couple of things really. One, I fell in love with a girl who is Australian, and she said to me very early on that she was going to go home to Australia. And so straight from the offset in our relationship, I had to commit to coming to Australia, you know, because then my philosophy was always, it's far better to be on the other side of the world with the woman of your dreams than on where I am at the minute with our, right? So that kind of made the decision very easy for me, which was nice. But that being said, it is odd. It's been I'm very good at taking things in my stride, like, you know, and I've never been a huge believer in saying no to opportunity. I think if you keep saying yes, you're going to end up in some interesting places. And so I kind of just always live by that philosophy. It has been terrifying, although I don't think the magnitude of how terrifying it is has actually settled into me yet. I think I'm still still a bit in a daze, a bit of a rabbit caught between headlights. But in terms of like the magnitude of the decision, I think it's only a big decision if you allow it to be. Like to me, it felt like a natural progression. To me, it felt like it's just what I've got to do. Like it's in the same way I've got to go to, you know, in the same way I want to go to the gym, I wanted to come to Australia. And the benefits here, it's like anything, isn't it? I could be here and all I could be doing is wishing and hoping and wondering about the United Kingdom. And it was also at the minute, it's very easy to not miss the UK because of the situation the UK is in. And the situation I'm in here, we've got open society. There's no restrictions. So there's no COVID. And it's very easy to exist in Australia at the moment because I know what I'm missing in the UK is nothing really at all, other than obviously like just being close to my parents and friends and family. But you just have to, if I was sat here in Australia every day thinking about what I don't have, I'm only gonna end up in a worse place. So you just, whenever you make a move like this, whenever you look at your life and whenever you're thinking about what you do have to do, you have to look at what you do have. And what I do have is incredible prospects. I'm working in a place that I've never felt more happy to be in this particular industry. I feel great progression in my life coming, and the future looks very, very optimistic. But I mean, yesterday on Instagram, I wrote a post about someone wanting to change is not quite enough. There's two aspects to change. One is you have the need, you have the desire, you have the want to change. But then the other aspect, and you recognize this as a personal trainer yourself and a coach, is that person also has to be willing to engage. Right. And that person has to, without the desire to change and the willingness to engage, you're never going to get to where you want to get. Right. The amount of people that like sign up for I've got a fairly affordable kind of group training system online. And I get a lot of people signing up and I never hear from them. I never get an email from them. I never get a question from them. I never get anything. And it comes as no surprise to me that they then cancel their membership, like when it's up. No surprise at all, because they thought they were ready to change, which they may well have been. They weren't ready to engage. They weren't ready to challenge their beliefs. And if I come to Australia and if I tried to hide away from the opportunities that were here, if I wasn't willing to engage in their society, if I wasn't willing to engage in the job prospects that are out here, if I wasn't willing to engage in everything that Australia has to offer me, I've made the change, but I wasn't willing to engage, I'd be in a far worse place. Making the change isn't enough sometimes. You have to then actively manifest the change. You have to then actively manifest everything that the change involves and requires. And if you do that, I wouldn't say you're gonna have greater success, but I think you're definitely gonna have better mental health related to that change in process. Otherwise, you're going to feel like a failure again. Otherwise, I'd have come here and it would have all fallen through my fingers. I wouldn't have enjoyed it. It would have been pointless because I wasn't willing to accept my new context. And if you're looking through a fitness lens, you have to be willing to accept that you're going to have to make sacrifices. i.e., I've left my parents in the UK. I'm living not in a lovely house or anything at the moment. I've had to suck up some things. I've had to not be employed for a couple of months. I've had to learn a lot of new things and get used to getting sunburnt every day. Just if you're in the sun for 5 minutes. But despite those things, I have to be willing to engage on all the prospects that are here. And by doing that, I'm going to be in a much better situation. And with fitness, it's the same. You could sign up for a trainer, you could give them your money, but that's not enough. If you're not willing to actually sit down and figure out what the work involves, if you're not willing to sit down and actually figure out the things that you have to do in order to get you from A to B and sometimes C, then what's the point? Why did you give them your money in the first place? And you'll be in a far better position if you ask yourself, I'm ready to change. Am I ready to engage? You'll be in a better position and your coach will be in a better position. And that means a lot because compromised coaches are not nice people because they're frustrated, because they feel bad if they're taking money off you and you're not doing anything. They feel really most of us have real good morals, and most of us don't have multi-million-dollar industries. It's like, the difference of your paycheck is the difference as to whether, I can maybe take someone out for dinner that month or not. And that makes a big difference. Or it could even be rent. It could even be more crucial than that, groceries. Right now, a lot of my coaching income is literally just paying for my barest essentials, and I'm just getting through. And so if I'm taking money off you and I'm not earning that money, it makes me feel really, really crappy about myself.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, so it would create a much better relationship between you and your coach if before you give them your money, ask yourself, are you truly ready to engage?
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely like two main things that I definitely got out of what you were talking about. First was like what you're talking about there was that whole scarcity mindset. So like just comparing it to like a diet, like when you think about all the things you can have, of course you're going to want those. If you thought about everything that you couldn't have now that you're in Australia, you would be in a far worse place, where if you had more of that, abundance mindset about all the things that you do have. Oh, I get to have, these vegetables, this protein, this, this food, I get to exercise, you get to do those things that are in Australia, be with your significant other and stuff like that. Like that's the mindset that you're choosing to have, and how you look at things can have such a dramatic effect. Just like you said, like if you don't look at them and you think about only the things you can't have or don't have, of course that's going to make you upset. That's terrible. Why look everything? If you start thinking about the things you don't have, you feel like shit. Like, of course. But if you think about all the things you do have, you become grateful for them and you actually want them even more. You think about, the company you get to keep now, and the food you get to eat, the workout you get to do. That's amazing. But if you had to think about it as a chore or as something that you can't have, well, of course it's going to suck. Like it's as simple as that.
Yeah. I concur completely. It's very difficult, isn't it? It's very difficult to understand that with people, because like in some ways, the fitness industry has so much to answer for, doesn't it? Like, because in some ways we sit here and we're like, you can lose weight and eat all the foods that you enjoy.
Yeah.
But you also can't. Like, not really. Like, we say that to sell it to people, and then they get on the other end of it and they're like, I thought I could eat everything and still lose weight. Well, you can, but there are still rules and parameters in place that we have to respect. Yeah. And so I feel like we're always creating a rod for our own back in the fitness industry, as opposed to just being honest from the start and moving forward that way. And scarcity is something that I think can be useful sometimes, but it's only useful for a small period of time. I think it's only useful, like motivation is like maybe at random moments when it's there and when you can use it to keep yourself going. I think it's just not an easy, and I think the biggest issue with it is everyone reacts very differently to it.
Yeah.
And therefore it's hard to set out general rules and guidelines and advice in a situation like this, like a podcast for people, when everybody you'd have to coach everyone and discuss it with everyone completely individually and completely differently. And that's something that we're probably not honest enough about as well in the fitness industry. And that, you know, like not everyone can lose 10 pounds. All right. And there's many reasons as to why. And actually trading off 2-3 pounds is actually a really good freaking result for many, many people. But the people who desperately want to lose 12 pounds find it very difficult to believe that, because they're told that actually 3 pounds isn't enough. They have to lose 2 stone. And it's you know, coming around to educating that and everything else, it's really, really difficult. And yeah, we probably just need to do a better freaking job in that, really, as a whole.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like the second thing that kind of came about from that I was thinking about when you were talking was the whole like behavior change, you know, kind of model, which you were pretty much describing. Like people, they don't realize that there are multiple stages to behavior change. So like, you know, when you're not even thinking about it, that's stage number 1. You know, when you're not even thinking that, you know, you want to lose fat or gain muscle. And the second stage is exactly what you're talking about. When you think about it, okay, I know I want to, you know, lose fat and gain muscle, but I don't really want to, like right now. I don't really know how. I'm kind of just like looking around, you know, maybe I'll do this, maybe I'll do that. And you don't actually do anything. And then that third step is taking action. You know, you're actually taking that action and moving forward with it. And, you know, sometimes you fail at, you know, at the first step and you move back down, or you know, succeed and you move on. But yeah, those are 2 very different stages in, you know, people's mind. And that's how you get, you know, I'll get people that message me who say, oh, I've been following you for 2 years and I, you know, just started doing this, this, and this. And I'm like, amazing. Like that's because that's how long it can be for people to contemplate making a change, because making a change is not easy. Like I think that's another thing a lot of people need to, you know, especially on, you know, Instagram and things, need to be more realistic with like making a change is freaking hard. You know, like you said, like moving across the world is not an easy thing to do, you know changing anywhere.
It's interesting, isn't it? I think I would actually probably argue that making a change going across the face of the earth, and a point on that is, I don't think anyone is quite aware how far Australia is until you actually freaking travel here. Okay. Yeah. Like I remember flying. So my flight was from the UK, so from London to Doha. And that took about 7, 8 hours. Oh. Right. And then from Doha to Australia, it was about 15 hours, I think. Right. And like, you can understand that in terms of time. Okay, that's fair enough. But what they don't tell you is that for about 7 of those hours, I was flying over international waters, over other countries and everything else. And then for the other 7 hours, I was flying over Australia. Right?
Wow.
The place is massive, and it is a long, long way away. Right?
That's funny. You would never think that. I agree with that.
No, yeah, right. Like when we did it in Malaysia, it was kind of the reverse. Like I've been to Australia twice in my life. One to move completely, and the other I came on a holiday with my fiance 2 years ago. And it was the same. We flew to Malaysia. That was like 13 hours, and then it was like 8 hours from Kuala Lumpur to Brisbane. And for like 3 of those hours, we were flying over international waters, and then the rest of it, I was flying over land of Australia. And it's like, my God, I'm in the country. Can't we land already? And that's the real hard bit. Like mentally, that's the real hard bit on the flight. Yeah. You're like, I'm in the country. Just land the damn plane. And they don't. And it's like, God, this is killing me. And that last stretch is really hard. And that's not fun or easy. And I think in terms of change, I think you're you're right, it is really difficult. But in some ways, doing something so grandiose, doing something so completely massive and crazy, the initial buy-in to do that is difficult, but the execution is actually easier because you have no choice. Whereas if it was just like, oh, you know, I'm still going to live in my own home, I'm still going to live in the same town, I'm still going to go to the same gym, and all I have to do is change the way I eat, like the buy-in is easier, but the execution is harder because less of your circumstances have changed. And I see on Instagram a lot this wonderful meme of like, you can't heal in the same environment that made you sick. And there's an element of truth to that. There is an element of truth to that, and there's an element of bullshit to it. But there's an element of truth to it in the sense that you're right. If you're around the same people who keep triggering you, if you're around the same environment that keeps triggering you into behaviors that haven't worked for you before, then changing yourself can be very, very difficult because not many people have the mental resilience, and understandably so. It's not an easy thing to conjure up. I don't have the mental resilience myself. I am as guilty of this as anyone else is, to make a change in not a big environment. Whereas here in Australia, because I have nothing I know, change is a natural thing. Either that, or I might carve out the same life for myself. It will just take a lot longer, and I'll end up in the same patterns as well. But you know, so it's interesting. It's about with each one. It's the same element of effort, but that effort is required at a different process down the track.
Yeah, no, I actually 100% agree with that argument. Actually, like, I do agree that like the buy-in is harder. You have to put more into making that decision, but then the actual change and effort you have to put into actually making the change is very little. Yeah, I would 100%. When you're forced into a situation that you have honestly no choice in the matter, and when you realize you don't have a choice, like you're in Australia, like what are you gonna do? You know, you're there. You know, like when I moved, I have no choice. Like I am in a new place, and I have to now make my life work in this new situation. You know, and that's the same thing. I would agree too. Like if you are, you know, just changing a small thing, well, now you already have all these other patterns that revolve around this. So it actually kind of, instead of changing just one small thing, you really have to change a lot more than you really think you need to change.
Yep. And it's neither good or bad. Like the fact that I'm forced into this situation in Australia is neither good for me nor bad for me. It just is what it is. And being able to recognize that without trying to attach, in the same way we try not to attach words like good or bad to food, like you shouldn't attach it to your circumstance. Your circumstance is your circumstance. And if you're not willing to change that circumstance, saying your circumstance is bad isn't going to help you. If you're not 100%. Willing to, if you're in a bad circumstance and you're not willing to change it, saying that you're in a good circumstance isn't going to help you. So you just have to, you can't, when you start attaching these very triggering words that then lead you into very different places subconsciously with what it is you're doing, it's going to have a much more overwhelming effect on you, more so than you realize. So you very much, like if you're doing a workout, oh, this workout's great. Okay, good. But really it's just a workout. Oh, this workout's bad. No, really, it was just a workout. We all have good and bad workouts. It was a workout. Like if you can just become more matter of fact about it, then the better it is. And I think that's something I'm very good at doing. I've always been quite good at doing it with my food, and I've been very good at doing it with the situations I find myself in. I get very matter of fact about it because I think anything else would lead to a compromise in my mental strength and fortitude to what it is I'm experiencing. I can't say being here is great. I can't say being here is horrible. All I can say is I'm here and I'm doing whatever I can whilst I'm here. And there is no other truth. That's literally the only truth that is open to me. And for as long as I'm aware of that, then everything else becomes insignificant.
Yeah, I think that's super powerful because I think we all tend to like put things in boxes, you know, of that good, bad, this was amazing, this was terrible, things like that. We tried to put a positive or negative spin on things when it's like, well, no, it just is what it is. Or what I found too that recently is that people try to, predict the future. They like say a situation is like, oh, this is bad, or this is going to be bad, this is going to be great. It's like, well, it might be, but you don't know. Like, why are you worrying about a situation that is 100% out of your control? What can you control right now? You can control your attitude right now. You can control your mindset. You can control, the work you're doing right now and the things that you're doing right now, and, eating dinner right now. Like, why are you worrying about that? You have no control over that. That's happening next week. Like, let's worry about it next week.
And I think your point reminds me of something I say quite often about expectation. And it's like expectation is the enemy of your result, right? Mm-hmm. Expectation is the last thing you want to attach to anything you do, right? So like someone might come to you, John, and might be like, oh, I really want to start getting fit. I want to lose like 5 kilos and everything else. And I think it's going to be really good for me. And it's like, no, it's not. It's going to be a process that you're going to engage in, and the outcome will be the outcome. You don't know whether it's going to be good for you or bad for you. You haven't achieved it yet. You haven't done anything yet. You have no idea what 5 kilos less looks like compared to now, right? And this is the whole issue I have with people saying weight loss makes you happy. It doesn't. Like, it doesn't. Weight loss will not make you happy. There's no way losing weight will make you happy if you weren't happy to begin with. Those who are happy when they lose weight were happy to begin with, right? Yeah. And that's just the way it is. And so expectation is the enemy of your joy. Always. Expectation is the enemy of joy. If I got to Australia and expected all these things to happen and then they didn't, I'd be depressed. Okay? Yeah. If I got to Australia and expected complete negativity, I'd have been depressed because I wouldn't have wanted to go. Right? Yeah. So you can't attach expectation to anything you're doing. All you can do is live in the present. This is why the past is history, the future is a mystery, and the present is a gift from God. Because all we have at this moment in time is presence, is being right here, right now, with each other. And that's all you can have in your journey. And this is the key to, people who are listening to this have probably heard you say, focus on the process, get process driven. Yeah. And this is the key to it. You can only get into the process when you take away the expectation of result. And the expectation of result will only ever keep you focused on the result, as opposed to allowing you to engage in the process. And we come back to that engage word. Are you ready to change? Are you ready to engage? Yeah. And it's amazing how that just all flies into itself. Yeah.
No, I love always focusing. Like my whole mindset has always been about, focus in on what you can control and don't focus on the things that you can't control. Just like you said, the present is all you can control. What I do right this moment, right now, is literally the only thing I can control. The only thing I can control is my emotions and my actions. I can't control what happened in the past. I can't change it. It's done. In the future, I take one step to the left. My future is completely different than if I took one step to the right. I can have no control over that. Whatever is going to happen to me is going to happen to me, and I will adapt to it along the way. But all I can do is focus in on my actions today. And what will that lead me to? I don't know, but I can try to push it in a direction that I want it to go in. Will it lead there? Maybe. Hopefully. That's my goal. But, sometimes life, throws a curveball at you. And now I got to go swerve right instead of going left. And now I got to make that adjustment and, push myself in a different direction. But if you can have that, focus in on what you can control, and stop worrying about what we can't control, because I think that's where a lot of people's anxiety comes from, a lot of people's depression comes from, worrying about things they have no control over. And it's some things like we wish we had control over, how people felt about it and how people acted, but at the end of the day we don't. We got no control over it, and we got to let it go and just focus in on what can we do to make the situation the way that we wanted to, and tend it towards that way, and not have expectations about how that's going to lead, and just whatever action we take, hopefully it goes that way, but it might not. And you have to be okay with that.
Yeah. Whenever I used to, so like a lot of my clients in the gym, they just kind of used to show up and they used to just warm up on the treadmill and stuff, and I'd walk over to them. We'd have a chat for 5-10 minutes whilst they're kind of just getting ready for their session. And, nearly always, I don't know if you get this in in the US, I don't know if it's a phrase you use in the US, but in the UK, my clients would say to me, oh yeah, like we'd be talking about their work and they'd be stressed, or we'd be talking about, their food and it's not going how they want or whatever. And they just look at me and go, it is what it is. And my response to that is always, well, yeah, it's never what it's not, right? It's never what you've not done. So of course it can only ever be what it is, because there is no other option available to you. Yeah. So even though they're saying it flippantly, they don't really comprehend, the truth of the statement, because it is what it is. And they're saying that like they're submitting to it, like they have no choice in the matter. And they're kind of right, but they don't realize they have no choice in the matter, because it is never what it's not. Well, it's not all the other things you could have done, because you've done it. So just move on and move through it, right? There's no point in focusing about it. Let's just slide past and crack on. And so, like, that's something. And then it got to a point where all my clients used to go, it is what it is. Oh, I know what you're going to say now. It's never what it's not. And then we'd just be like, come on, let's go do some deadlifts.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's how you have to look at it. Like, whatever you did in the past, okay, now it's time to move on and move to that next thing. Okay, you missed a meal, you missed your workout. Who cares? Done. Move on to the next day, and then move on to the next meal. We tend to have sometimes a short-sighted picture of our life or our goals, and it's like, no, one action doesn't like lead to those results. Like common phrase, you never lose fat by eating one salad. You never get fat, gain fat by eating one donut. That's just, it's not how it works. So you have to be able to look at what your actions are and, move past them if you make a mistake, because trust me, we all make mistakes. I know Adam's probably made tons of mistakes. I know I make mistakes every day.
I'm perfect. What are you talking about?
Okay. There you go. Yeah.
No, it's really interesting, isn't it? Like in terms of fitness, right? In terms of, muscle building, or, like what you'd expect from a personal trainer and everything else. Like I have probably failed an immense amount of time. Like I haven't achieved anything. I've run a marathon. That was quite an achievement, I suppose. I was a semi-professional referee and stuff. But really and truly, to me, I just took all that in my stride. Like anything, Like I have not actually, like, all the goals in my head that I'd like to achieve, I've never achieved one of them. Like I've never achieved a 60-kilo bench press. I've never achieved like a 120-kilo deadlift. I've never achieved being able to do a wide grip pull-up or anything else, right? Now, if I was to list all the things I'd wanted to achieve in my life, like I've never built a chest I'm particularly proud of. Like I still get a bit self-conscious when I'm topless and stuff like that, because I'm a skinny ass for, and, everything else. And like, I could look at my life and be like, I've completely and utterly failed in every aspect of fitness, and now I'm a personal trainer. Like, what the sheer absolute heck am I doing, right? I'm just a charlatan. I'm just lying to everyone. What's the point? Or I can look at it and go, well, these are kind of, they're goals, right? Yeah. They'd be nice. It would be lovely to do, and that's fine. But in truth, really, I have been consistent in fitness for well over 10 years now. Other than if I'm overly injured or I've had an operation or something like that, I've never not worked out. Like maybe like I go through bouts of it, but I've always returned to it. I've never like had years off or 6 months off, something like that. Maybe like 2 months at most. I've always maintained a relative amount of strength for my very long body. And actually, the reason I'm able to do that, is because I'm not really attached. I'm not motivated by an end goal. I'm motivated by the lifestyle and the way in which behaving the way I behave in and around an environment filled with weights, and an environment designed for walking, and the way I like to operate my body, I'm focused on that. And for as long as I execute that to a point that makes me happy, and when it's not making me happy, I'm aware of it and I go back to it because I know it does make me happy, then I have no expectation. I'm never down about what I am achieving or not achieving in fitness, because I have no expectation. I have no goal. I'm not actively really wanting to gain 10 kilos of muscle, because if I don't, the world ain't going to stop, because actually, what? I know I can be happy without it. Yeah. And that's what it comes down to. And that's when people who are sitting there going, oh, I must lose 5 kilos of weight. And when I do, I'll find boyfriends and I'll be happy. And I'll stop getting bullied at school or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Like that's not going to happen. I wasn't overweight at school and I still got bullied. Right. And I got bullied because I was around bullies, and bullies are bullies. Bullies will bully you no matter what. Right.
Yep.
I didn't find love because I was skinny. I didn't find love because I wasn't overweight. There's plenty of people out there who live in higher weight bodies who are crazily in love, and rightly so. It's something it's a mindset you're believing with yourself, and it is also the mindset that is stopping you from actually finding your freedom within movement and activity and exercise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100% agree with all of that. I think we finish on that note. That was some powerful stuff there. I think.
I don't remember what I said.
There you go. That's how you know it was good. You just let it go.
Right.
Straight from the heart. Love it, man. So Adam, where can the listeners find you?
Well, everywhere as the Gym Starter. My website is Alive and Kicking, which is fun. I love writing blogs and long form stuff. So if you're someone who likes spending 10, 15 minutes reading a lot of words, which I know is becoming a narrower portion of society, then head to www.thegymstarter.com and just navigate to my blog on there. If you like the more short form stuff, then hit me up on Instagram or TikTok seems to be a fun place at the moment. I'm enjoying that a lot. Yeah. Or I've got my own podcast, which John has an episode I'm yet to publish, but I'm hoping to get it done ASAP. You're next on the list.
Okay, there we go.
Life's just been real busy. I know we recorded it over a month ago now. But
that's all good. Don't worry.
Been tough, man. So yeah, you're next on the list. And and my podcast is called The Fitness Solution. So on that, we cover all things fitness, really. Like there's no right or wrong. I'm happy to engage in any topic of conversation. Like this week, I've got one up with a guy called Aidan, and we're talking about whether being vegetarian is more healthy for you than being omnivorous, which was a great discussion. And, like what you and I went through, just much like this podcast, we have great chats like that on there. Yeah. And so, it's a whole gamut of things. So you can find me everywhere. My name's Adam Berry. I'm known as the Gym Starter, and, you're just welcome to get in touch. And if you tell me you listen to this, you'll be one of my, I'll favorite you as a follower immediately because I like people who listen to things.
Yeah, I'll definitely share a link with you guys in the show notes. So go ahead, check out Adam. His content's great. I wouldn't have him on the show otherwise. Thank you. It was great having you on there, Adam. And hopefully you enjoy the rest of your day. I know I'm going to enjoy the rest of my evening. Go to bed soon. Get some shut eye. But thanks for coming on the show, man.
Don't be silly. My absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
No problem.